All right. Hello, everyone. It's Raleigh, and welcome back. So it is Wednesday, and as always, we do have a new reveal of the elite specializations, and it's actually different than what I thought. So today we're going to be talking about the warrior, the thief, and the ritualist, which is kind of crazy. And it's funny because we talk about the stuff like all the time on the Discord and the streams and stuff, and a bunch of people like. Well, I even made a poll because I kind of wanted to get everyone's like impression, and I thought ArenaNet would keep the warrior and the necromancer. And I say ritualist? So I meant it's gonna be the warrior, the thief, and the necromancer. Which the necromancer is the ritualist. But anyways, um, the thing is that I thought ArenaNet would be teasing the Paragon and the Ritualist, right, for the Warrior and the Necromancer, like early on, and then not reveal them until like much later. But they did not do that. So we have like almost complete mystery for the next round, right? Because we're getting the Evoker. We only for the Elementalist, right? We only know the name, and then we're getting whatever Revenant, and then we're getting whatever Engineer, and we don't know what is what, and that's gonna come next week, right? So that's a complete mystery. But with these three, we already kind of saw a little bit of the Antiquary, the name, and we saw a little bit of it in the trailer. And then we also knew the Paragon Ritualist, right? We knew about those already. And so it wasn't like a huge mystery. It was a matter of the question was, how are they fitting these Guild Wars 1, these very popular Guild Wars 1 um, professions that are now elite specializations? How are they fitting those into Guild Wars 2 coming from Guild Wars 1? Here's the thing. So I will tell you guys, I don't I don't know exactly what goes on at like ArenaNet HQ or whatever, right? But the trailer they had posted at 3 a.m. this morning. Okay, the trailer was posted. Someone posted a link to it on the Discord, and I figured I'm just gonna watch it because it wasn't a blog post. It was just a trailer that was posted on X, and it's crazy to me. And I'm just gonna like do a little like sidebar here. So I used to manage like it wasn't a big place that I did it for, but I used to manage this business's social media, right? I would do posts on social media on different like social media platforms and stuff like that. And it's weird to me because when you do something like that, right, you don't post it right then and there, right? You usually plan out when you post what you post, like what days you do it and stuff like that, and when it fits in. Like, do you want something for the weekend? Like, do you post it on Friday? Whatever. And the thing is, you put on the time that you want these things to be released. And over the years, ArenaNet has consistently always had like every so often they've had like these hiccups in there, where all of a sudden it's posted at a random time, or it's posted like a day before, or and then they delete it, and then they like it's crazy. And this happens all the time with ArenaNet, and it's really really funny because it's not a big deal. Like, it's not like I'm like, oh my god, they don't know what they're doing. Like, it's whatever. Like, I don't care. But it's just weird because I'm like, I used to do that job, and I'm like, it's weird because it's like I would always post them on at the same time, and it's funny because they do it right at noon, right? Like, that's the time, and that's when I used to post too for this business that I used to do. It was always every social media post would always post it around noon. I would usually do noon, or sometimes I'd do 1 o'clock, but usually noon. So it's like you always do the same thing, right? Like, shouldn't you be used to it by now that it should be on at noon, right? So for whatever reason, it was posted at like 3 a.m. or something like that is when it was posted on X. So I had to look at it, and actually, this worked out in everyone's favor because the thing is that I have a series on YouTube for shorts, which is called Guild Wars 2 Translated, and I go around translating text for those of you that haven't watched my shorts or whatever. So I go around and I translate. I only have a couple of videos right now, and I have more planned. There's a third one that I wanted to do, but I'm because of what's happening today, I'm gonna kind of skip on that a little bit. But the thing is, like, there is like different languages that just use like substitution cipher, so it's literally like one symbol represents one letter. And I actually have like, this is like the Crichton. I actually printed it out at some point. This is like the Crichton. So this is like what we talk about, like, you know, in Crita they usually use this. They have this, and then they have like a more I don't know, this is more like the written, like almost like the cursive in a way, and then this is like the actual like little. So I have these, I have these out because I like to do that once in a while, go around and do that, because ArenaNet does a really good job of posting little signs and stuff and using like new Crichton and stuff. So I've been translating stuff, and there's actually stuff to be translated on this trailer. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to show you guys what the translation is, and I will also be posting a short for those of you, you know, maybe for the people that don't necessarily watch my videos, my news videos or whatever. I figured it would be kind of like right in the theme, because I've been wanting to post more shorts, and I've been wanting to post more on the Guild Wars 2 translated and stuff. So we're going to be posting that. I'm going to try to get that done today, and yeah, and you guys that are watching the video, you guys will be the first ones to see this. I don't know who else has translated this. I will tell you, you can't translate the whole thing, but I tried to translate as much as I could. And it's kind of nice. So anyways, so that's going on. And yeah, so let's kind of jump into it. Like I said, I did get to look at it last night, but I didn't see the blog post. So let's pull it up, and there's a couple of interesting things that I want to talk about once we go into all of that. So let's read about it. Elite specialization reveal: Thief, Necromancer, and Warrior. It's weird how they like order it, right? Last time it was like Mesmer. What was it? Mesmer, whatever, blah blah blah. So it's always like, I know they want to do like medium armor, heavy armor, light armor, right? Like they want to have one of each for all of these, but it's kind of weird how they order, how they like kind of put those together. But anyways, so we had this Indiana Jones. I mean, we've already seen some of like these two, right? The thing is, I have my thoughts about Antiquary, and I think those of you that haven't seen this yet are gonna have some thoughts as well. We've had discussions now on the let me lower my camera a little bit. We've had discussions on the Discord already about the Antiquary and stuff, and I have some thoughts. So let's kind of watch it. I don't know how loud this is gonna be, so for me. So let's kind of watch it here. I do want to watch it in HD. I don't know why they always, like, YouTube never like automatically does. Oh, hold on. Okay, there we go. Let's do that.
Rich with history, Tyria is filled with artifacts and remnants of the past, all ripe for the picking. A collector of sorts, the Antiquary has a certain set of skills to give them the upper hand, and maybe make a profit. Send a script to pilfer an opponent. Stealing random artifacts from your enemy can be a valuable skill. Will you rock out to confuse your opponent? Will you leap up and bring the hammer down? Or let a dancer taunt your enemies? Whatever artifacts you manage to steal or borrow, a good antiquary will always find a good use for their plunder. Long practiced in Cantha, ritualists summon forth spirits from the mists, granting boons and sowing chaos on the battlefield. Shroud yourself with the ritual knowledge of the past. Summon spirits to aid you in battle. Mark an enemy, seal their fate. The spirit of anguish will send volley after volley to deal increased damage to them. Daze your enemies with the spirit of wanderlust as it slams the ground, knocking your enemies to the ground. And as your allies fight beside you, grant them boons and heal their wounds with the spirit of preservation. Summon and channel otherworldly entities. As a ritualist, you will gain a deeper understanding for the spirits of Tyria. Their chants echo across the sands of Alona, reaching friend and foe alike. The Paragons are pillars of protection, channeling their adrenaline to bolster their allies and demoralize their enemies. Let your voice ring out as you support and bolster your allies around you. Protect them with a barrier to help them defend against oncoming attacks, absorbing damage meant for allies for a short time. Chant of Freedom to break, stun, and give your allies a speed bonus. As a Paragon, you seek to protect your allies and motivate them to break through their limitations, to fight onward. Be the voice that stirs inspiration as it echoes across the desert sands.
Okay, so yeah, we've already seen this, blah blah blah, whatever the thing. So let's kind of go through it as always without the sound on. And like I said, I already have some thoughts on some of this, and I just so let's kind of talk about it. So the Antiquary, first of all, let's talk about the icon. So a lot of people were very confused on the icon, myself included, right? Because it looks like like 3 cards, right? And we were like, okay, this must be like a card spec, right? So this was pointed out by someone a while back when the trailer came out and we saw the Antiquary, we saw the script and the with the Antiquary in the trailer, and people were like, ooh, it's not card based. So what is the icon resembling, right? Like a lot of people are like, the card thing doesn't make a lot of sense. So someone had pointed this out, and I am gonna pull it. I have it pulled up here. So you guys will know the symbol. I can't make it any larger than this right now, but you guys will know this icon. This icon is the Rare Collections icon, which are 3 cards with a crown on it. Okay. Now that someone was saying it's just the collection icon. It's just the Rare Collection icon. With instead of the crown on it, you have the initiative symbol on it. Okay, so that makes total sense to me. That makes total sense to me because that is where the cards come from. Okay, is the icon that already exists in Guild Wars 2 that is like these little cards, and they have like whatever on it. So I think it's supposed to resemble like collections and not cards, because we have nothing that deals with cards in any shape or form in this spec, like at all. Okay, so I think we can completely drop the whole card thing and kind of forget about that. The thing is that I'm not huge on it. So Antiquary, and even what they describe in the dialogue where they talk about, you know, they talk about like artifacts, right? They talk about like Tyria is full of artifacts and like artifacts and remnants of the past, right? All ripe for the picking, right? You can see it right here. A collector of swords, blah blah blah, right? Talks about all of the stuff. Random artifacts. The thing is, and I'm not completely against this whole script thing. I get it. Like a lot of like on the Discord, we immediately had someone that was like, "Oh my god, it's a script based elite spec," and I don't have an issue with that at all. The issue that I have is these aren't artifacts that we're collecting. Okay, so the first one that we see, okay, and these are not like artifacts. It's a guitar. Okay, that's not an artifact. I don't know why this is like. I mean, I guess it's the Metal Legion. I don't know if it's like, because it looks like the Metal Legion icon on here, or whatever. So I don't know if it's like very specific, the Metal Legion guitar, or whatever. But it's a freaking guitar. Like, that's not an artifact. Then we get this like weird hammer that has a script on it, like riding. The script is riding the hammer. Just so you guys understand. I didn't notice that last night. I noticed this earlier when we were watching. The script is riding the hammer. Okay, like I don't know. But, and it looks kind of like an artifact, I guess. Like, it has, like, a blue glow to it. I think what it looks like to me, it looks like one of the Exalted, if you guys know, the Exalted armors that you can take that you can go into during Heart of Thorns when you're in Auric Basin. And you have these, like, hammers that you hammer down, where you heal your friendlies around you and stuff like that. That's what these look like, okay? Sorry. Okay. So yeah, so that's what that is, but there's a script writing it, right? Like I'm like, okay. And then we get this like I could see the Exalted hammer being like an artifact, I guess. How is this an artifact? Like a Skrid Hollow Dancer is not an artifact. Like, I just, I'm really, I get that there's probably some people that are very excited for this, and I get it, right? So like, I like that Taunt is getting coming in there. How is this weird fish? I mean, I guess this weird fish thing is some kind of artifact. I don't. It looks like a fish thing, right? Doesn't it? Where you make like the script makes a bubble for you or whatever. So I'm not completely against it. I like the idea of like having this comedic relief race come in and kind of provide like, you know, support in the spec. Like, I think it's fun, I think it's cute, whatever, but I just feel like there is this weird disconnect where we have the Antiquary, which is supposed to be about like artifacts and plundering your enemies and using, you know, that stuff. But then we're not really, these aren't artifacts. These aren't like, you know, I'm looking for like the ancient artifacts. I'm looking for the like weird magical whatevers, right, that we can't identify. But like, how does a guitar fit in there? Like, in my opinion, and this might be a little bit of a negative outlook on this, but in my opinion, it looks like ArenaNet really wanted to use all the instruments that they had, and they couldn't figure out how to make the guitar fit for the Troubadour, and they decided, why don't we stick it with the Antiquary? We can just have like a guitar in the Antiquary. Like, it's weird, because this spec, to me, the way that it feels like it's just kind of thrown together. They kind of were like, what are we gonna do with the thief? And they're like, okay, well, we never really went crazy with the actual like stealing, right? Like F1 is like your steal ability, right? And like we never went crazy on that, because they always, like, all the other specs that it has, it always dealt with something else, right? Like the Daredevil had the extra dodge, and where the dodge was like something different and it would cause a different effect, you know, or the Daredevil, right? And then we had the Deadeye, which had the mark, right? And would kind of deal with that and the malice buildup, right? And then we had the Spectre, which dealt with going into Shroud and like completely changing what F1 does completely. But I think they wanted to go with something like, okay, how do we make like stealing like the main thing of the game? I don't know how this changes anything. I don't know how this affects the F1, right? Like, this looks like you press F1 and you send out a script to steal something, but how does it affect your F abilities? Do we get more F abilities? Where we get like an artifact and we can do, because it looks like they do different abilities. Okay, so it doesn't look like each has one, as you guys can see. So we get the guitar and then we play it, right? We like rock out, right, and causing whatever effect around us. But then also the character takes it and slams it into the ground. Okay, like slams the guitar into the ground. So I have a feeling that there's gonna be like, you're gonna be stealing. And it's not going to be like what stealing usually does, where it changes what your abilities do on like, you know, 1, 2, whatever. Like, you know, the thing is, the different things you can steal usually give you different skills on your weapon set. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I have a feeling the way it's going to work is you steal something and it's going to give you like F2, F3, F4 or whatever, and those are going to be able to be, you can do different abilities on those, and you can probably use them like a couple of times before you lose that artifact or whatever. Like, that's what it feels like to me. Again, I don't know what the utility skills are. I feel like we don't really see those in here. But yeah, overall, I'm kind of disappointed, because I just feel like, you know, I get this is some kind of artifact. I don't know. I really feel like the thing is that there is so many artifacts in the world of Guild Wars that they could have done something with. I get that not a random thief doesn't run around with like an ancient artifact or whatever, right? But you have the Antiquary and you make it sound like we're dealing with artifacts. Like, a guitar isn't an artifact to me. Like, I'm kind of missing the theme, you know, point A being the theme, point B being execution, and I'm kind of lost on the, like, you know, point A to point B kind of thing, because it's like I don't really connect the idea of what the Antiquary is with what you guys have executed. But that's me personally. Someone in Discord went like crazy and was like, "Oh my god, Scrit, I'm sold on it. I love this. This is awesome. You know, we can like do all these different things, so we can have like this little Scrit help us." It looks like these are going to be different Scrit too. I don't think it's going to be just one Scrit because I think they look different. Don't they? No, it's this weird like different looking Scrit. That's definitely a different looking Scrit. This is not like a Scrit that we usually see because it's like a dark blue. I don't know if this is like an I don't know. It looks like a. Do you guys see it? Do you guys see what I mean? It's like almost has like this blue hue to it, which I feel like, and it has like different armor. I feel like we haven't really seen that on Scrit, but I could be wrong. We haven't really dealt with Scrit in a long time. But it looks like a different Scrit model. They probably wanted to differentiate it in case you are somewhere where there are Scrit. But yeah, that model looks different. But I thought it was different once, but it looks like it's just one. And it looks like that same Scrit is actually hanging onto the hammer as well when you look at the hammer swing. Right there, you can see it. So, yeah, I just, it's funny, it's cute. I love the idea behind it. I just think that there was something lost in translation, I feel like, right? Like, where they were, like, trying to make the Antiquary happen, and as time went on, they kind of made it like, oh, let's make it like Scrit themed, and then have all this fun stuff that goes with it, and it kind of loses. Antiquary has like this serious connotation to it, where it's almost like I'm thinking like Tomb Raider, Uncharted, right? I'm thinking like that kind of stuff, but then you move into this, and it's like, really, this is what we're doing? So I'm not sold on it. If you guys like it, I'm happy with it. I don't really play Thief, so it's not even like a big deal for me. I was hoping for a spec that would make me play Thief a lot more, but maybe this is fun. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see on Friday. I'm gonna have to try out the beta. Maybe this is like the best thing ever. I don't know. But yeah, for now, very interesting. Very interesting. So then we get to the Ritualist. Ritualist, very interesting. So obviously, these spirits, we've seen these are Canthan spirits. So the shroud allows you to summon spirits. It looks like you get like this orb above your head, and it allows you to summon different spirits. They all have like different pieces. These are all named after I believe spirits that existed in Guild Wars 1. Specifically, I remember the Wanderlust one because I did use that. There are certain builds that you could use with the Wanderlust, where it actually slams down on the ground and knocks down opponents. And that's what the Wanderlust one did as well in Guild Wars 1. It would actually cause knockdown. It was very powerful in that way. You could kind of chain off of that, because there's a lot of ways that you can chain off of like knockdown in Guild Wars 1. And it could be like very powerful against certain foes. Specifically like bosses and stuff too, where you can kind of like stun lock them in a way. So you summon these different spirits. You can summon them at different times, it looks like, which is really, really cool. I love that we get, because there's another one shooting. The first one that the Necro summoned is kind of shooting over. By the way, the boar here, that's a new model of boar. Just if you guys haven't seen it, this is a new boar model. So very interesting. I don't know why it looks almost corrupted in a way. It almost looks like almost undead or corrupted in a weird way. Because it has like all these horns, but also the flesh of it looks kind of really strange, right? It looks almost undead, almost like Cryptis in a way. I'm not saying Cryptis are coming back, but it's kind of like, it's looking like there's something wrong with it. So I don't know if there's some explanation to it, or if that's just how they look on the island here on Castora, right? So, but I did want to point that out as well. I don't think we've seen that yet. So, and yeah, so the effect here, I'm not super against it. I just think that's a lot of visual noise. So when you're in a group and you have like, you summon the Spirit of Wanderlust and you have this giant green thing in the middle, I don't know how obtrusive that's going to be to the gameplay. That's always a worry, of course, when we have all these like, circles on the ground and all these different things happening and whatever, right? So there's always that worry with it. But yeah, so you summon like three, it looks like 3 different spirits that you summon. They can be differentiated by the back pieces that they wear. So the first one that we summoned had that, the second one had this, the third one had this, right? There's like a triangle, like a square, and a circle one, right? So that's kind of how you can differentiate between the 3. It looks like, you can summon them all at the same time. This might be like the elite, or this might be something where you summon them all at the same time and they actually shoot out. This is very much, just so you guys know, there was a elite skill in Guild Wars 1 that was very, very popular. It was called Signet of Spirits, which would summon 3 different spirits. And it was very popular because that's the only skill where you could summon 3 spirits at the same time. And many builds were built around it, because you could summon 3 spirits there, and then you could summon like a bunch other like single spirit skills. And then you would have like this group of spirits, and you would have them attack. And I'm getting really this impression of summoning 3, like this. I'm getting this nostalgic feeling almost, where I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my god, this is just like in Guild Wars 1 when you summoned like 3 spirits with Signet of Spirit and they would attack at the same time. So I'm really liking this. It looks really, really cool. You know, obviously they're going with the Canthan. I know there was on the Discord as well, we were kind of talking about it last night. So someone was like, you know, I wish they didn't like just have Canthan, and that it would be like depending on where we go. But the thing is, and my argument was that these elite specializations are kind of based off of, like, many of them are based off of like regional, right? And this is specifically a Canthan elite spec, right? So of course we're going to be using Canthan rituals to summon these and summon these Canthan spirits, right? Like, I think they're really trying to hammer down that many of them are based off of, right? Like the Gale Shot is Tengu, right? The Luminary is the Char, right? They didn't really represent the Char too well, I feel like, in the Luminary, but here, where they have like an easy way to like represent it, right? Because they already have these models in game anyways. They really want to show that it is a Canthan spec, okay? So, but yeah, there's not much else to say really. It's just you summon spirits and you attack them, and that's all I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I've been wanting a ritual. Oh, that's not the only. The helmets look different as well. I just realized. I think, right? Like this has like more spikes on the helmet. These have like the same helmet, but this has like more spikes. This spirit has more spikes. So there's a couple of differences that you can kind of see on their models or whatever. But yeah, so I've just so you guys know, like, I've wanted a Ritualist in the game for a long time, and I'm from the look of it, I'm really, really excited for the Ritualist. So, and I really just wanted someone that I can, you know, there's we talked about spirit weapons, we talk about like urns, which were like 2 other abilities that pretty much the Ritualist had, right? The Ritualist had urns that you can carry. So think of Saint Victor, the elite skill on the Revenant, the Alliance Legend, the specifically Saint Victor version, the blue one, the elite skill where you have the urn in front of you, and then you can crash it down for an effect. So it was kind of the same thing in Guild Wars 1. You could carry these urns that would have one effect, that would kind of usually be like team-based, whatever, and then, you know, and would be like some kind of boon to your friendlies, some kind of helpful enchantment or whatever, and then you would crash it down onto the ground, causing some kind of damaging effect. That's usually how it kind of worked for most of them. There were some that would like kind of do, you know, you would have more health and you crash it down on the ground, and then you would heal your group or whatever, right? There's like different versions of the urns. So they had those, and spirit weapons were where, and I think I've talked about both of those before too, but there's like spirit weapons that would cause your melee attacks to now be AoE, right? For like a set amount of attacks, right? Splinter weapon, I think is what it was called. And like that was one that was very popular, was used a lot, right? Because usually when you go in as like a warrior with a sword, you would only be attacking one target, but then someone would cast Splinter Weapon on you, a Ritualist would cast Splinter Weapon, and now your attacks do AoE damage instead, right? Like, not instead, so you do that damage, but you do an additional AoE effect, right? And it would kind of transform your weapon, it would look kind of different, have like this weird like ritualistic look to it. So I'm glad that those didn't come in. I think really just kind of focusing on the spirit part of it. I think that's, you know, when we talk about the Ritualist and we talk about what people have been wanting, I think people, for the most part, have been wanting the spirits. And I think if they try to do too many things with it, like urns and spirit weapons and spirits, and do all of these things, they might have muddied the waters a little bit. But focusing on one aspect of the Ritualist, I think, is much smarter and much easier to deal with as well. So I'm okay with it. I know there were some people that were like, man, I really wanted like some urn gameplay, and it would have been really interesting to like have to figure this stuff out and whatever, like, you know, carrying the urns around and stuff. But yeah, for me personally, I think it's not really like a big deal. Like, I really am happy that they're kind of focusing on the spirits there. So really, really cool. And then we get to the Paragon. So the Paragon, there's really, I mean, we can kind of watch it. There's not much really we can say. So they have, first of all, so they get the golden wings. We talked about this many times, right? We get golden wings. We don't see them all the time. So even on like certain abilities, they don't seem to always have them. The golden wings, which is fine. We're gonna have to kind of see. There's a couple of things. So I'm gonna show you guys the translation for these. So we have, and I'm gonna kind of pull them up here. So as you guys, and I'm gonna have to like look over because they're not in front of my face, but they're in front of your face. So it says, "Be swift, go forth, and freedom." Okay. Now it kind of says it. I think it says it in that way. So like it, you know, you guys can't really see it now, but I think that's how it goes. I can only, the problem is the only time we see this ring is we only see the one side of the ring. We don't see the other side of it, but it looks like the go swift actually repeat, or the be swift repeats. So as you guys can see, like there's on the top right, it has the swift go forth as I translated it there for you guys. But then on the bottom one, this is actually a different part of the ring that I kind of had to like turn them around to actually be able to like read all the stuff. So they're all like kind of twisted around. But it says "be swift" on a different part of the ring, and I think it says it on the complete other side. So I think it's a 180 like line of stuff that says "be swift, go forth, freedom," and then it repeats it again on the other side, is what I predict it says. The letters in the middle are very interesting. There's these larger in the middle, you guys can kind of see it, and those three letters, there's three of them, and it says RUN. So I'm guessing it says run. I don't think it says Nur or Nru, so I'm thinking it says run. I don't know why it says run. I'm guessing because like there's some kind of like speed thing that's, you know, they talk about it in the trailer that you give like speed or whatever. I don't know if they kind of, if there's something that they stand for. RUN. I don't know. It didn't really click for me. Like I was like, at first I was like NRU, and I was like, what does that stand for? And then I was like, well, let's kind of work it out. I'm like, oh, this says run. So I don't know if it says run or what, but there you go. So I think that's what it says. It says "be swift, go forth, freedom." I think it just says that in like a 180 span from what I can see so far. Obviously, the problem is like they really don't give you a long time, and it's very like in the corner of it and stuff, so it's kind of hard to make out. But yeah, so you guys get that translation there. Like I said, I'm gonna make a short for that as well. But yeah, it looks like it's just chants. So they call them chants. In Guild Wars 1, we had these chants that were kind of just like different kind of shouts. Okay, and the idea was that chants had like the golden wings that would come out, and they had like different effects, but they pretty much functioned like shouts. I don't know if these are going to be any different. I don't know if there's going to be some kind of weird secondary effect maybe that's going to happen or something, like where initially, like when the shout initially happens or the chant initially happens, it does an effect, and then when it runs out, it does another effect. Or maybe there's some kind of something adrenaline where maybe it has something to do with like if you go into this like berserk mode or something, right? And it does like an extra effect if you use a chant in the meantime or something, like while you're in this like golden winged state, maybe you can use a chant and it does now more whatever. I don't know. They don't really give us a lot here, really, visually. It's just all like recycled and like not recycled effects, but they recycle the same effects, right? The ring is the same as this ring, and then the next ring is like the same ring as the first ring. Here's the crazy part. Right here, I want you guys, so this is a warrior using an attack, and I want you guys to watch this. This is very interesting to me. And I'm gonna let you guys watch it and then maybe guess what I'm trying to talk about. I'm gonna talk about it right after, but let's watch this for a second. So did you guys see that? It was very quick, right? But it was there. He attacks. This is a warrior. he attacks, which what looks like an auto attack. Okay, and what does it do? It bounces off one enemy and goes to another enemy. I don't think it does that. Like, I play Paragon a lot, and what it does is you attack one enemy with the auto attack on the spear, and it explodes. It has an explosion effect, which is like, I'm pretty sure it looks just like this, but it doesn't bounce off to another enemy. So this is very strange to me, because I don't think that any of the abilities have bouncing of the spears. Unless I'm like misremembering. I might be misremembering how they look. Maybe this is just a visual thing where it's supposed to just hit multiple. I'm guessing this is just a visual effect, because you can see that the spears are coming out of there. And that was the thing, right? Like, the spear explodes into like the effect. So but it almost looks like the spear bounced off. So it kind of threw me off when I saw that the first time. I was like, this looks different, but that might just be in the regular auto attack. But yeah, so we get the ring again. It's the exact same ring with the exact same letters on it. And like I said, I tried to translate as much as I could. I couldn't get any translation on that. We get these golden wings with these really cool effect behind it, which is, again, really cool. But it looks like they get like an aura of some kind. I don't know if that's a fire aura or what that is. It looks kind of like a fire aura, but it looks like a different aura. It doesn't really look like a fire aura, does it? I don't know. The lighting is really strange here, and we don't get a long look. But yeah, I'm very interested to see what they do with this. This is very, very, very cool. So let's kind of read about it. Enough looking at that and overanalyzing. So let's read about it, and let's see what they can give us, because there's a lot to go through here. Oh God. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot. Okay, let's do it. Welcome back to another set of Elite Specialization reveals for Guild Wars 2 Visions of Eternity. If you missed last week's unveiling of the Troubadour, Gale Shot, and Luminary, be sure to check out last week's blog. Today, the focus shifts toward the Thief, Necromancer, and Warrior. Fans of the original Guild Wars may be familiar with two of the Elite Specializations we are talking about today, while the third is full of surprises. Tune into our Twitch, blah blah blah. The Antiquary. Okay, so we get the so like I said, it's a weird, different, like, script. I do love the new art that they like. The art has always been great for Guild Wars 2, but I love the like new art that we're getting now. It looks so cool. Like, this is like so like Uncharted, Indiana Jones, like, love that. Really cool. But yeah, we get this like different looking script. I don't know if this is like, I've never seen a script model like this. Like I said, there's like these weird blue hands that has purple eyes. I don't know if this is like some kind of very specific script that we're getting, but it's definitely different from the other script we've seen. The Antiquary, improvisational, Jesus, procurers. Jeez, let's make it even harder for me to say things. The balance of black market trade and above board commerce in Lion's Arch has tipped toward legitimacy in recent years, and the Captain's Council has banded together with several smaller factions to claim a place in the Tyrian Alliance. But the discovery of Gentheory artifacts has started a gold rush as explorers hustle to procure rare and valuable items that no living culture can lay claim to. Interesting that they kind of lean into that. There's like lore implications to that, right? The discovery of Gentheory artifacts and stuff. So we did there was like the whole like artifacts and then body part smuggling. That was like this whole side story that we dealt with, and it kind of dealt with like these rich people trying to procure like different like body parts of the like Titans and stuff like that. But it's kind of weird that they're kind of leaning into this. I like it. There's like lore implications to this, right? Like, where it's like, oh yeah, it's because of like we just went to Gentheory and it's like now open, and there's all these like ancient Mersat artifacts that are in the city and stuff that are kind of coming out of Gentheory and making their way to the mainland. And then it's kind of that's influencing the world, and that's where this elite specialization comes from, right? The somewhat euphemistically titled Antiquaries pride themselves on their scholarly appreciation for the artifacts they acquire. Many even keep a few in their private collections, ready to impress colleagues at the tavern or blindside foes on the battlefield. And whether they're priory historians or pirates, Alliance Arch is still their favorite nexus for trading and selling their wares and knowledge. Scrid happens. Antiquaries are the pinnacle of accomplished thieves, no longer stealing for material need and purely doing so for the fun of it. With the help of their loyal but not necessarily reliable Scrid assistants, antiquaries can plunder precious artifacts from their opponents and their random spoils and turn their random spoils into improvised weapons. I can't read today, you guys. Antiquaries can even break the rules of regular combat, allowing them to reverse a dire situation, or at the very least, take themselves and their opponents out in a blaze of glory. Oh, take themselves and their opponents. For the thrill-seeking player who delights in rolling the dice and adapting to any situation no matter the outcome, look no further than Antiquary. Okay. Interesting. I don't... It's so like vague. I can't even... Pretty much what we've seen, right? Like, let's continue reading because I can't really pull anything from this. Press your luck. Antiquaries acquire new artifacts with their skill Pilfer, which replaces Steal. Okay, so we get first thing, so we get a new Steal. Summoning a Scrid assistant from underground to plunder from your target. After a successful Pilfer, instead of stolen skills, Antiquaries get the choice of using one of two randomly selected artifacts from across Tyria. These artifacts range from a Cryptus turret that fires automatically at nearby enemies to a chalk organ that produces a shield. So that's what that is in the video is that's a chalk organ, I guess, that produces that shield. Is that at the very... I thought that was at the very end, wasn't it? Yeah, so this is a chalk organ. I guess it looks like a chalk egg, right? A little bit in there, so I can kind of see that. Okay, interesting. Protecting you from incoming projectiles. Traits give you finer control over the artifacts you receive, from guaranteeing that you'll get one offensive and one defense artifact each time you pilfer, to re-rolling your artifacts for new ones at the cost of initiative. Okay, so that's so interesting. So you get one of two randomly selected artifacts, and you can fine-tune it by making sure that you get one offensive and one defensive artifact. Interesting. Double Edge, the Antiquary's new skill category, consists of a set of abilities. Okay, so this is the new skill called Double Edge that can be used repeatedly even while on cooldown. The catch: there's a chance for the skill to backfire when used while still cooling down, often with detrimental effects to the user. The chance of the skill backfiring decreases the closer it gets to completing its cooldown, so players who are more risk averse may want to wait a little before attempting to use a double edge. Okay. Okay. While I love the idea, I feel like you can't do... So here's my thing. Okay, I'm playing out a scenario in my head. So you're playing PvE, you're fighting Drakkar, right? It's, you're going at it, right? And you're using all your skills, right? Right now it's the burn phase. You're at the last 20%, and you're just, everyone's like, burn, 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 throw all your stuff, and you're just throwing out your abilities, your double edge abilities, and then having the chance of getting a detrimental effect and just saying like, screw it, I have people that can heal me and blah 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 blah. I feel like this might be kind of... I'm gonna have to see how the implementation is when it comes to, like, I'm thinking PvE, right? Like, what's gonna happen if someone keeps using the double edge abilities and they keep getting detrimental effects to the point where they down themselves constantly? Okay, and then, like, people might just get annoyed by this random antiquary that keeps doing this, right? Because they're depending on all these other people, right? It would put so much more pressure on the support specs, right? Because the support specs now, like, even in burn phases now, where, when we're fighting, like, in a strike, in a raid or whatever, you have a burn phase where it's like, okay, the enemy's not attacking, right? Right now is the point to attack, blah, 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 whatever. What if there's a guy that keeps using double edge, right? Like, I feel like there could be a negative impact on the community as a whole when it comes to that. We're gonna have to really see how these double edge abilities play out. Um, Also, my other question is detrimental effect to the user. I hope there's no like AoE detrimental effect, because that would really, really suck. So I'm guessing it's just on the user. I don't think they would do it as an AoE where like the group gets a detrimental effect in some shape or form. But yeah, having the ability to blow yourself up pretty much, I don't know if I really like that. So, like I said, I'm gonna have to see the Antiquary in action to really understand what's going on there, because I'm not super sold on it. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm not super sold on it. I think that, I don't know. We're gonna have to see how this plays out. Ritualist. So we get all green as always. Ritualist, necromancer. You know, very, very greenish. Which is so interesting. The thief is one of those professions that has multiple colors. They have red and gray and black and that sort of thing in their color scheme. But then like necro is all green all the time. Okay. But anyways, the spiritual successors. Oh, I love that. Ritualism is one of Tyr's oldest professions. Ritualism is one of Tyr's oldest professions. The practice originated in Kantha, where humans discovered that spirits could be summoned from the mists and bound to a ritualist's will. In practice, this was traditionally a respectful partnership between ritualists and ancestral spirits. But as the speaker's influence spread in recent years, so did their hastily adopted methods of forcibly binding spirits. Necromancy and ritualism have long been considered separate disciplines, but as open hostility between the speakers and the Jade Brotherhood cools, and Kantha becomes one of the Tyrian Alliance's strongest pillars, ritualists have formed ties with the necromantic communities across Central Tyria, Alona, and beyond. Ritualism will gain new practitioners. Networks of political support and shared resources will ensure that responsible traditions are favored over cruel shortcuts to power. Okay, so again, they're really hammering the lore implications of, okay, ritualism is coming to the big screen, and you know, now everyone can do it, but they want to make sure that it's going to be the responsible one over the cruel one, right? And there's actually, like, when you go to Kantha, when you do when you play End of Dragons through End of Dragons and stuff, there's actually a lot of different times where this actually comes into play. There's actually right at the Zendaijun temple, the library or whatever, there's a the event. If you do the event at night with the spirits in the town and stuff, and you follow the Kyun or whatever her name, whatever the ritualist's name is, you follow her to the library or whatever. There's a whole thing about where she talks about, you know, you guys are cruel towards the spirits, and you guys like forcibly, like, you bind them to your will. And that's not what I'm about, right? So there's this whole idea of, like, we want to be the good ritualists that do it freely, right? And I love that. I love that right here. They do talk about the long considered separate disciplines. I've talked about this in Guild Wars 1. Necromancy and ritualism was very different from each other. Where, like, even ritualists considered themselves above necromancers, and they were like, oh, we're so much more sophisticated, okay? Like, that's really how some of the dialogue was when necromancy and ritualism was, like, compared in that game. So I love that they acknowledge that. But obviously over a span of 250 years at plus, right? Now it's like 260 something years, right? Things have kind of changed, you know, and so these practices are becoming more mainstream, and they're not like just locked to you know, to the ritualists, but there's also the necromancers are kind of picking that up now too. Preserving a legacy. As you might expect, the Ritualist draws heavy inspiration from its Guild Wars 1 counterpart. We'll go into more detail during this Friday's livestream, but our design goal was to capture the key elements of the profession and translate them into Guild Wars 2. And to achieve that, we started with spirits. Depending on their skill and trait selections, we expect Ritualists will be able to specialize into supportive builds or aggressive power focus builds. So this is really, really nice. Just so you guys know, in Guild Wars 1, many times, so and this is exactly the two categories that in Guild Wars 1 Ritualists fell into, okay? Either you had these aggressive power builds where you would have, like I said, you would summon all these spirits that would attack, right? And that was like your main way of dealing damage, was like having all these spirits, keeping their health up, keeping their armor up and stuff like that, and then just kind of having them attack and having skills that make their attack stronger and stuff. But then at the on the other side, you also have, and which is used a lot more now, is these healing ritualists. Ritualists had a lot of, they had restoration skills, they were called, and that was like all healing based. You could summon spirits that would heal your allies. You could summon, like, again, we had like spirit weapons that would heal. We had urns that would heal. There was a lot of healing abilities, right? You'd have abilities that would do extra stuff, like extra healing or whatever, if there was a spirit in range around you, right? So and I like that they really went with this. You can do a supportive necromancer with supporting spirits, or you can do aggressive. So I really like that they went with the two options there, because that is exactly what Guild Wars 1's Ritualist was like. Spirits will be summoned while in Ritualist Shroud, and the Ritualist will also gain access to weapon spells. Spirits will be summoned. Okay, this Ritualist will also gain access to weapon spells as their utility type. Okay, so we have weapon spells. Weapon spells, I called them, what did I call them? Spirit weapons? I think that's what they kind of... Is that what they called them? Or weapon spells? So weapon spells is the equivalent to the spirit weapons that I was talking about earlier. I guess they were called weapon spells and not spirit. I don't know where I got spirit weapons from. Is that what they were called? I don't remember. But weapon spells is exactly that, what I was talking about. Those who aren't familiar with weapon spells from Guild Wars 2, from Guild Wars 1, they're shareable, beneficial effects with similarities to stances and venoms. Yes. So, okay, interesting. So they're similar to stances and venoms. Some are applied for a specific duration, others are applied as stacks. And that's exactly how weapon spells worked in Guild Wars 1. So we're bringing back spirits, and we're bringing back weapon spells, meaning that we're going to maybe see some kind of weapon spell effect where it transforms the user's weapons. I don't know, but that's exactly what it kind of did, is these weapon spells that you would cast on your ally, and they would cause these different effects to happen on your attacks and stuff like that. Or they would give you, I remember there's one elite skill that would give you like health regeneration for the duration, right? So it wasn't stacks, it wasn't like Splinter Weapon that I talked about earlier, was actually stack based, where the higher level in what is it, like channeling or whatever the attribute line was, the higher you had that, the more stacks you would get of application. Maybe that's not right. I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I've used Ritualist in Guild Wars 1. But they're so as they're saying, what I'm trying to get to is there's specific durations. There's also specific stacks. So there's different weapon spells that would either do a specific duration or do it for a specific amount of attacks. While weapon spells were ally-targeted skills in Guild Wars 1, in Guild Wars 2, they behave a bit differently. The Ritualist will always receive the full effect of the skill, while up to 4 nearby allies will receive the effect at a reduced amount. For example, one skill may last 5 seconds on the Ritualist and 3 seconds on allies. Okay, so it's like an AoE, it's like a Venom thing. It's pretty much like Venoms, and so for those of you that didn't play Guild Wars 1, imagine these are Venoms, but these are like Venoms that have like a reduced effect on the allies around you, but it's kind of the same thing where you get different abilities or whatever. Anguish, Wanderlust, and Preservation, which all three... Preservation, so yeah, so this is... Anguish was an attack spirit in Guild Wars 1, Wanderlust was the CC one, and then Preservation was one of the healing ones. So I guess that's what these three are. The Ritualist Shroud behaves similarly to the Necromancers. It's fueled by life force, and damage taken drains the life force pool. So we're going back to the original. Okay, once life force is fully drained, the player will exit their shroud. Okay, makes sense, right? We already understand that. For those of you that played Necro, you understand that, right? Inside the Ritualist Shroud, Ritualists will have access to 3 skills that summon spirits: Anguish, Wanderlust, and Preservation. Each of these skills has an initial effect activated by the Ritualist, after which the spirit will appear. Okay, so we see that with the, if you guys remember in the trailer, we see the circle above the Ritualist head, right here. So that's probably the initial effect, I'm guessing. Right, so it casts, see how that's like the initial effect, and there's this kind of like weird flare happening in the hand here. So it looks to be that is the initial effect there. Um, Initial effect, after which a spirit will appear. When the spirit is summoned, it performs a powerful attack before lingering in a more passive state. During that time, the spirit will periodically attack nearby enemies. These attacks can be focused on a specific enemy by targeting that enemy with the Shroud's basic attack. Okay, so you can, so they're not attacking random enemies and might pull ads or do attack someone that you don't want to attack. They will attack who you, with your Shroud's basic attack, target. Otherwise, the spirits will simply attack an enemy that is in range. Okay, so you can kind of focus their attack if you need to. Spirits will usually disappear when exiting Shroud, however. However, there is a trait that allows them to stick around longer for a cost. Okay, so they last the Shroud, or you can trade it to last a little bit after the fact. For example, when activating Anguish, the Ritualist performs an initial strike on the target that inflicts cripple and vulnerability, and marks that target to take additional damage from your summoned creatures. Yes, that includes minions. So this is really cool. I don't know what this is going to be called, but there was, and I talked about this a little bit, but there was an ability that you could cast, and I don't remember the name of it. It's like something, not Lament or something. It was something like that, but you could cast it on, and many ritualists that use spirits would use this, but you could cast this ability on your enemy, and it would do it to the point where they would take extra damage from your attacks from your spirits. So you could literally, I mean, you would have like 6 spirits out, and they would be attacking, or what, like however many, right? 6 spirits out, and then you cast that ability, and it would do, like, on top of the 6 attacks, you would also get 6 more damage dealing things on there doing extra damage. So they're kind of bringing that back. But this is really nice. So you can have minions still, and they will do extra damage as well. So there's synergy with the already existing minions on the build. So you can do, from what it sounds like, you can have minions on top of spirits, and you can have an army of all these people attacking, of all these creatures, spirits and minions attacking, and you can have them do extra damage. Like, that's really crazy, I think. That's really cool. When Anguish is summoned, it fires a barrage of projectiles at the target that deal additional damage against controlled enemies, and for each condition on the enemy. Wow, that's really, really cool. I love this. There's a lot more to cover about the Ritualist Shroud, as well as other trade interactions and weapon spell utilities. So we get weapon spell is the utilities. I love this. I'm really, really hyped. They really thought about how they can implement the Ritualist in the best way, and I honestly think this is the best way that they could implement it. Obviously, people might be sour about the urn, but I love this. I'm excited to use this. It might be time to dust off my old Necromancer and get in there. Like, this is really, really cool. So, all right, and let's look at the Paragon. So, I love the color scheme here. It's like my favorite. So, the Paragon, Unrelenting Protectors. Elona, Land of the Golden Sun. Just so you guys know, this was the line. This is when you start Nightfall in Guild Wars 1, for those of you that didn't play it. And you would always, anytime you started any of the campaigns in Guild Wars 1, you would always get like a short little cinematic, like a cinematic, right? You would watch like a short little video of like, where they would maybe introduce you to like the area or whatever, right? And that is exactly how, when you started Nightfall and you created your character and you pressed play or create or whatever, right? That is the first thing you would see. You would see like pictures of Elona, and then you'd get this deep, I don't know who the voice actor, he's like this really deep voice, and it sounds like really, really cool. And he says, Elona, Land of the Golden Sun. Like, I'm like, oh my god, and you're like immediately like immersed in the game because it's so good, and you hear the background music, and it's really good. Once opulent dynasty in Triune, I don't know, I've never read that word in my life, of nations scarred by war, pestilence, and the machinations of divines and dragons over the centuries. In times of crisis, the nations of Elona could count on its most steadfast and inspiring warriors, the Paragons, to serve as an unyielding phalanx against their foes without and within. So the thing is, kind of a little bit of a nitpick here. It wasn't necessarily Paragons, it was the Sun Spears. Okay, Elona could count on the most steadfast and inspiring warriors, the Paragons. it was technically the Sun Spears, but many of them were Paragons. Like they were called the Sun Spears, right? Among the Sun Spears, right? In the past, these spear and shield wielding fighters were a favorite specialization among the storied Sun Spears. Yes, so that's true. Not all Sun Spears were Paragon, mind you. But when they're talking about like in times of crisis, they depended on the Sun Spears, and not all of them were Paragons. So, however, the practice faded into obscurity after the second coming of Pahlavi Joko, who saw the Sun Spears summarily crushed and twisted into the modern crescent. Not only that, but then they had some escapee Sun Spears that then became Spellbreakers, right? The inheritors of the practice eventually reemerged in the years following Joko's demise. Today, Paragons are still known for conjuring golden ethereal wings and shouting bolstering chants and commands to empower their allies and demoralize their enemies, hoping to expand this tradition beyond Elona. Some Sun Spear Paragons have begun offering their expertise to those willing to answer the call. Commanding respect, the Paragon is a staple pillar of Guild Wars 2 lore, and its elite specialization carries on the tradition of its original iteration. While the spears that were introduced in Guild Wars 2 Aegean Theory Wilds have already brought one of the Paragon's key aspects to warriors, this elite specialization further delves into their role as commanders and defenders of Elona, granting them the ability to bolster and aid allies around them with chants and commands. Both of which... well, chants were like the actual, like I said, the auditory golden wings, like this in Guild Wars 1, right? Commands, I don't think they really had commands. So maybe we're gonna get commands as a like a utility skill here. I'm not sure, but command was actually one of the attribute lines. So for those of you, I talked about attribute lines earlier. Attribute lines is like the predecessor to the trait lines. So we have different trait lines like, dueling on the like Mesmer or whatever, right? And we have like different, death magic on the Necromancer and stuff. And like the predecessor to that was the attribute system, and they would have different attributes. So the Necromancer did have death magic and blood magic, and like they had those as trait lines. And they actually, so Paragon had a trait line called command. Okay. Which was one of their thing. I think it was, right? Command, I want to say. Wasn't it commands or something? Am I misremembering this? I feel like it was like command, motivation, leadership, spear mastery. I want to say that's all it was. I'm pretty sure. Their presence is so powerful they can, in a moment of dire need, command their allies not to die. The "we will never yield" elite skill prevents the Paragon and their allies from falling below 0 health for a short time. We will never yield. I don't know if that is a Guild Wars 1 shout or command or whatever. I'm not sure. But, and interesting, so it looks like we're getting commands. It looks like we're getting chants and commands. I don't know. I'm not sure here. But yeah, so you can stay alive for a little bit. So I like that already. Motivational chanting. Paragons build up motivation, a new resource whenever they use a burst skill. In addition to level 1 weapon bursts, Paragons gain access to chants. Okay, so this is very close to, not very close, but this is almost like the Spellbreaker, where you only get level 1 weapon bursts. Okay, so it doesn't give you the 3 anymore. But whenever you use it, you now build up motivation, which is another resource. So we're getting a new resource beside adrenaline, okay? But then we gain access to chants, special burst skills that are available regardless of the weapon equipped. Chant skills come in 2 parts. The first part occurs immediately when the skill is used, while the second part, the refrain, is a pulsing beneficial effect. Okay, so pretty much kind of what I said earlier, but not in the same way. But chants do two things. So I like that. You get a first part where it does immediately something, and then it does some kind of pulsing beneficial effect. I like that a lot. So chants are not the utility skill, but they're the F skills now. Refrains drain motivation and deactivate when it is depleted. And in addition, the effects of the refrain become stronger depending on the current motivation level. Thus, they are at their most effective when the Paragon stays on the front lines of battle, channeling adrenaline into burst and chants to keep motivation high. Okay, so so it's something that we can keep up, I guess. Keep up the whole time. I guess we can keep to keep motivation high. So I guess if we keep motivation high, these chants will have like really good effects to consistently. So you want to be in the battle there. Paragons also gain access to commands. So that is the utility skill is commands, which functions similarly to shouts, affecting either enemy or allies around them. Furthermore, command skills come with an additional property called an echo. So they're really squeezing a lot of different, just so you guys know, they're squeezing a lot of Paragon stuff in. So we have chants. There's also, we had refrains in Guild Wars 1. Refrains were also a type of chant that you could use, I'm pretty sure, right? Like, I'm pretty sure refrains were a type of chant. There was, because chants was like a category, and then you had different, like, or was like the overlapping category, but then you had different areas of chants that you had. And one of them, I think, was like, we had anthems, we had refrains, we had echoes, right? So we have another one, echoes, coming in, right? That's what I'm trying to say. They're trying to fit as many of these different like ideas into this. So so commands, echo is a secondary effect that triggers a short interval after a command is used, granting additional bonuses. However, echoes can also be triggered early by using a burst skill, allowing skilled paragons to strategically time their echo effects to turn the tide of battle. So the way that you can do it, I guess, is you can pop all three of your, because commands should be instantly, or at least like very short cast time, if that, right? And they would, then you get the effects, right? The effect that might happen after a short interval, but you can pop it by using a burst skill and having all these effects pop all at the same time or whatever, and like really just like go in and like burst it all at the same time. So very interesting. I really, like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, last week's I wasn't very excited, and there was a lot of things that I was like, I'm like, yeah, it's fine, it sounds okay, I wasn't very thrilled, but I am very thrilled for both the Ritualist and the Paragon, and those were two that I'm looking for. The third one that I'm really looking for is the Revenant. I really want to know, we talked about like Lady Mosin and stuff like that on the Discord. I don't really want to like, yeah, it might be potential spoiler, I don't know, but I'm not gonna get into too much, because if that doesn't pan out, there's no reason to talk about it. So we'll talk about that next week, obviously. But yeah, it's very interesting. I really like how they're trying to, like, they really took these Guild Wars 1 professions and they squeezed as much into them as they could, right? Like, they really went in and they were like, no, we want all of these different aspects from this profession, from Guild Wars 1, to be in there, right? Like, I like that. I think that's really, really cool. I think that's like, I think the way that the Necromancer looks right now, or the Ritualist looks right now, the Paragon looks like, it sounds like exactly what I would want them to be in Guild Wars 2. And I to me, they sound like the best iteration of what those profession could be in Guild Wars 2. So I'm very, very excited. Yeah, so that's all I'm gonna do today. This has been already like over an hour long, so if you guys hung out with me this long, I really, really appreciate it. If you guys are inclined, if this is the moment where you decide, you know what, I'm gonna get the expansion, please make sure to use my referral link if you want to support my channel. I would really appreciate it. It's gonna be down below in the description. It'll bring you to the buy page or whatever, and then you can, once you use that link, and you do anything on that page, it'll recognize that you used my referral link specifically. So if you guys want to support the channel, I would really, really appreciate that. Also, there are memberships available if you guys feel inclined to help any further. Those, like I said, I'm trying to build up the memberships there a little bit. Every little bit helps the channel, and every little bit helps me make more content for you guys. So I appreciate any help that anyone can give and support the channel in all those ways. And yeah, and shout out to ArenaNet for like really doing a really good job by bringing those two professions. I'm excited. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm excited for those two. I'm trying to, like, ever since like Secrets of the Obscure, I'm kind of trying to keep my hype a little bit in reserve, but I'm very excited to try those out at least and see, and on Friday see how they like play out and stuff like that. So but yeah, that's gonna be it for today. I appreciate you guys very much, and I will see you all next time. All right, bye guys.